Igualmente. Igualmente. Igualmente.
You know, it's like the lizard. Lizard.
Welcome to another episode of He's Just the Plot, a podcast about book boys and wondering, are they okay? No, but maybe. Here, we analyze our book boyfriends and apply counseling theories and techniques we would use if they were our clients. Because guys aren't the only people who say, have you had any water today?
I fucking hate that question. Did you eat today?
Okay, I get asked that question though. And I get asked about the water. Just like, yes, I have tried today. Okay, you don't need to remind me that I have failed. Looking at you, producer Drake.
I don't have that problem.
Because you're alone. And I'm Nora.
I'm Alyssa.
And we're your hosts for He's Just the Plot. Spoilers?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We are going to be talking about a funny story today. And we're going to be putting a lot of spoilers in there because we're going to be talking about the whole book. So if you haven't read it, go read it. Or if you're like me and don't care, keep listening. I read the end of all books, you know.
That was the chillest spoiler alert. Normally I'm like, spoiler alert. Don't go forward. You will find out about the plot of the book.
Yeah, but like sometimes like that's the fun of it.
Really, I think the fun of it was us talking about our collective trauma of work, but the book's good too. Like honestly, you should read this book.
Actually, I really liked it. Yeah. So we're talking about funny story again.
Funny story. We're talking about funny story,
which is about Daphne has everything together. Life could not be more perfect. She knows exactly what her future holds, which is marrying Peter.
Ooh.
The guy she has built her entire life around, include moving back to his hometown to be close to his family and to be friends with his friends and basically be his wife.
My wife.
Well, too bad for Daphne. Peter discovers he has feelings for his longtime best friend, Petra.
That bitch. I don't know where this is coming from. I am
the
unhinged.
Gorgeous, tall, effortless, bohemian blonde who has sworn she was like a sister. So next thing Daphne knows, she's moving out of her dream house with all of her furniture into Daphne's ex-boyfriend's.
Into Petra's ex-boyfriend.
There you go.
That's on me.
Enter Miles, the little opposite of what Daphne thought she wanted. I think we know where this is going. We love a forced proximity.
Oh, yes. It is a forced proximity trope.
Yes.
However, along the way to finding a comforting, loving companionship, Daphne discovers herself. That maybe she has a lot to offer the world. And maybe she can want more than to just be something for someone else. And maybe Daphne can even learn to set boundaries and put her needs first. Funny Story is a tale of tragedy, comedy, and self-discovery, all wrapped up in that small lakeside town charm that makes us believe that our neighbors can be our friends and our roommates can be more than friends. But first, we have to tell you, this is a really funny story by Emily Henry.
The main male lead for this is Miles. He's 36.
I know, it's kind of old for a male lead.
I know. I kind of digged the ages. I will say that.
But this is like a real 36, not like 5,000-year-old, 21-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
500 years old and she's 18.
Yeah. So good.
I really liked Miles.
I did not.
Period. You want to talk about your highest points of the book and then I can talk about mine?
Yes. So the high point of this book for me was really Daphne purchasing her own home and deciding to leave the apartment that her and Miles share together. And it's not the like leaving aspect, it's that she was able to set a boundary too with Miles and say, I still want to be in a relationship with you. And I, in fact, love you, but I need this on my own at
Yeah.
this point. Like, and it
That
was
independency.
that independence and that self growth, which I don't think we really see a lot in the end, where it's like she gets the guy, but more importantly, she learns the power of self respect. And I really love that. And I also, even though I don't personally, excuse me, care for Miles as a character, and I think I'll talk about that in my low point, I do think how he handled that was actually very mature, which
Mhm.
was bet.
Oh, he's so okay.
He said, "Sounds great. I still get to date you." Awesome. So I appreciated that.
Yeah. I think one of my high points was I just loved how down he was to like be a part of the lie that Daphne told her ex Peter when he had called, and she was like, yeah, like me and Miles are dating. And when she told him, he was like, that's fucking awesome. Like, yeah. And I loved that his sister had the same reaction. I really enjoyed his sister.
I think his sister was a good time. I think he has no boundaries with his family.
Absolutely not.
And the sister really did just kind of insert herself unnecessarily. And then on top of that, I also feel like Miles was down for whatever because he's literally just seen whatever. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, if I don't have any expectations or
Nothing. Yeah.
like if I give nothing, I can get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If I give everything, I can lose everything. And that I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I see
Okay.
what you're saying. Which I think kind of leads off into your low points of the book.
It does, but I really want to talk about like one of the low points that I had with this book was Miles's job. So Miles really likes his job and he is kind of like a bar manager, which is a really good job, but I took him liking his job for like complacency instead
Mhm.
of contentness, and like that was something that I had to be like, whoa, like maybe he just genuinely likes it. Like
Mhm.
the fact that he wasn't striving for more was very off-putting for me as a
Mhm.
person. And so like initially when I read this book, I wasn't reading it through my therapeutic lens. I was reading it in Puerto
Yeah.
Rico because my friend had suggested it. And I said, oh, this sounds like a fun time. And I was like, oh, he just wants to be the bar manager. Like, why not own the bar? Why not want to own the bar? Why? Where's your strive and your drive? And so I found that like really off-putting. And so that was a low point where I realized I'm a snob about work. And
I wasn't gonna say that.
I was like, oh my gosh, like you can be happy in your job and that can be enough.
Mhm.
And I guess I was like,
You need
no,
more.
you need more, because I think I always need more. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but what's my next step? Like after director, executive director, AVP, VP, dean, like not dean, it'd be president, dean. I'd have to be full-time faculty, and then chair, and then, but like, there's the plan for more. And so I think just that kind of like workaholism that I may have, I was like, that's a low point for me. Thanks for reflecting this problem back to me, Emily Henry.
I think that's why I enjoyed Miles.
That's what our friend said. And I was like, I don't understand.
I think I liked, because I feel like I'm the very same way of just like very driven. Like we're both very independent women. And so I think you want someone who matches that. But I think for me, it was it was like a nice, like slow down pace of like what I had expected. And so I was like, okay, I kind of like it. It's like he's content where he's at. He enjoys what he does. And I think it showed in a lot of aspects, especially like farmers market. Like he really is passionate towards like what he provides for the bar and his connections. And so
Yeah.
I enjoyed that aspect.
I mean, I did enjoy seeing the passion. I was just like, but what
More.
next? Yeah, more. And then I would say Miles' lack of communication about things, like just in general.
Yeah.
He makes problems worse by thinking he can solve the problem before people discover it's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then doesn't, and then it causes issues. And that lack of communication led to the third act breakup that, of course, could have been avoided. So
Always.
ultimately, the idea that you need to do a big gesture to get an apology, like that's something that I struggled to read, and I feel like he deserved to be called out on that.
I agree. You know how I feel about apologies. And
I
so
do.
that
I do. And literally me all the time. I'm sorry I breathe.
No, I agree with the grand gesture and all of that. And to me, like, I did wholeheartedly think that like actions do speak
Funny story.
louder than words. And I feel like that's a really big like mantra in the book of just like
Mhm.
your actions really showcase.
Yes, but I think we can think about communication as an action
Yes.
because his actions weren't they weren't to demonstrate something, they were to earn an apology.
Yeah.
And that's I don't think necessarily fits into like actions speak louder than words because it's not you actually speaking,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you hoping someone speaks to you.
Yeah. I agree. That's good. One of my low points.
Girl, I felt that. I felt that.
The amount of times
He
that
wears them.
Crocs, I know, ick. The amount of times that Crocs were discussed in this book was ridiculous. I get it. He's quirky. He's different.
Crocs and complacency. Ugh.
A Croc. Sometimes, have you ever seen those videos where they're like, oh, and he was in leather pants, and you're like, no, he wasn't, or he had a man, but no, he didn't.
Okay,
That's
but
what I said every time I heard Crocs. I said, no, that's not what I'm picturing.
yeah, I'd rather see you in Hey Dudes. And I don't
She
want to see that.
hates Hey Dudes.
I hate Crocs more. I just think Crocs are like, and I get it, they're like non-slip.
I get it. And
And
I wore them.
comfortable.
I wore them when I was a server, but I only wore them when I was a server.
Was it the Crocs with the holes?
No, you couldn't wear those.
Right. So they were just mules, right?
Yeah, they were like clogs.
They were clogs. Clogs, you could wear clogs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it. I was just like, I was like ready to throw the book because I was like, if it gets mentioned one more time,
It's like when we were doing the deal and I kept being like, if I have to find out that Hannah needs to pee one more time, I'm going
it
to
was
lose
like that.
it.
I said, do we literally have to reference? We get it. He has no fashion. Like I promise I get it.
So I think like what's really interesting. So obviously we did beach read, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say you preferred funny story to beach read.
No, I actually preferred beach read to funny story.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I was gonna be like, as we all know, I like August is my favorite. Like Gus is
Yeah, we know.
yeah,
You have a type.
driven, competitive, an asshole. And Miles was not my type. And I struggled with that. And I did not read it with my counseling lens
That first time, yeah.
that first time. And so like it was really hard to like unstick these like fully formed thoughts. And then I was like comparing him to August, and I was like, couldn't be a writer, couldn't be a bestseller, couldn't own a lake home. I know. I get it. And this is like Miles' worst fear too. Like someone literally doing this to him. So thank goodness
He
you're
already
fictional.
doesn't feel good enough.
He doesn't feel good enough. It's really sad.
And like he already feels like he has to be low maintenance as it is.
And he really is low maintenance.
Yeah. And you're just shitting on him.
You know, if he had self-respect. I really took off my counselor hat today. I would never schedule a session after 8 p.m. for this reason. Like, it's just all gone. Unfiltered. I'm raw dogging these thoughts.
I hope my mom never listens to this episode.
I hope you put that Alyssa said raw dog first. So like it's not just me like out of nowhere being like raw dogging these thoughts.
Because my mom is a loyal listener.
Your mom is a loyal listener and she is so mean to you on the phone. She's like, why are you calling me?
She did say that.
She did. Well, you did call her like 4 times in one day.
Well, right now?
On a trip with your friends. Oh, no, not right now.
Oh my God. Yeah, she's used to that though. She loves me. She was mad that I called her out on her hair.
I mean, you were just like, your grays are showing.
They were.
You have grays.
I just dyed them.
I was about to be like, you have grays in defense of your mom. And then I was like, wait, have I been hallucinating her grays this entire time?
Did you stare at my hair?
I did. I did stare at your hair. And I want everyone to know I don't have grays.
Good for you.
And
Don't clap to that, Drake.
And that's on good gene. I don't want to finish that. I don't want that to get misconstrued.
That was crazy if you finish that statement.
Well, I mean, like, I didn't inherit gray hair. I'm sorry you did, clearly.
Anyways.
So, attachment theory. Oh my God, this is so bad.
This episode is so bad.
Do you think this episode will make it?
Yeah, we'll make some out of it. Yeah, that'd be good.
You're going to have to do so much editing. Wow, this is
raw
so
dogging
hard.
this episode.
Raw dogging this. That's gonna end up in the like funny story. Alyssa and Nora do not know what raw dogging is. I raw dogged this episode. This edit.
Okay. Anyways, counseling theory.
Yes. So I think as we discussed with a lot of our low points, that Miles really struggles with healthy communication and like being in a relationship in general, especially when things start to feel serious or when he starts to feel like he could be a burden on someone or he's out of control. And so as we were going through this, we were really like, this to me and to us, I would say kind of reads like an attachment wound. So we're going to do something a little different this episode where it's not necessarily about the theory itself, but this idea of attachment theories and attachment wounds. So there are several counseling styles that utilize attachment theory in their approach, ranging from emotion-focused counseling, which we've talked about before, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, otherwise known as EMDR, which you need specialty training for. And that's kind of the patting and the rapid eye movement. And basically the premise of that is you're kind of rewiring your brain to develop different pathways over the pathways where your trauma is like kind of running through. And then there's other counseling theories that utilize attachment theory. But the through line in attachment-based counseling theories would be that they all utilize the work of John Bowlby, who was a 1960s British psychologist. And he proposed that children need at least one emotionally responsive caregiver to develop a sense of safety and security. And I think that's really interesting in Funny Story because Miles had none, right? Like he didn't really have his father in his life, and he had a very chaotic and intense relationship with his mother who was kind of neglectful, was domineering, was not the caregiver that Miles needed, whereas Daphne really struggled with her relationship with her father. He was very flighty. He was in and out of her life. He couldn't keep a promise, but her mom was very stable in her life. And so I think that goes back to John Bowlby, where we can see a lot of growth in Daphne, where she developed kind of maybe some of those attachment wounds, and that's why she clung so hard to Peter. But because she had had that stable relationship with her mother, she was able to kind of grow out of that as she was starting to discover some more stability in her relationship with Miles, where Miles isn't really able to notice that he is kind of suffering from some of these attachment wounds because they don't go away.
Yeah.
Very often they just show up much later in life, and they can show up in a subtle way. And it can show up in a not so subtle way. So basically, what Miles experienced with his mother and then feeling the guilt of leaving his sister while trying to set boundaries with his mother was leading to a lack of boundaries with his sister. And this lack of boundaries with his family has led Miles to develop deep attachment wounds. So attachment wounds refer to deep emotional pain and relational struggles that stem from insecure, inconsistent, neglectful, or frightening caregiving in childhood. And then as we get older, like I said, they really start to show up. So for Miles, the subtle way of him demonstrating that he has attachment wounds was, I think, really his relationship with Petra, where
Mhm.
it was a really serious relationship, but both of them were like, no, it's casual. We're whimsical, we're free flowing. But they really relied on each other, and they were together for so long to the point where they like lived with each other. So just kind of like that lack of acknowledgement of the reality of the situation, I think, is a sign of a more subtle sign of an attachment wound. And then like a not so subtle sign would be when when basically I think Miles felt like Daphne was going to get disappointed. If she's disappointed, she's going to be disappointed in him. She's going to leave him. So he decided that he needed to go miss his responsibility with her, figure out how to get her dad to come back, and then she was going to be so impressed with him that everything was going to be perfect and fine, when in reality, right, like he just kind of like made the relationship worse and was showing the kind of like some avoidance because he really didn't want to deal with the possibility that Daphne might be upset, because that might re-trigger some of that inner child and vulnerability that he felt as a child, that his mom led him to feel by being neglectful, and blaming a lot of her neglect on him not being perfect. And so you can see that this relationship with Daphne is becoming kind of a trigger point for him. And so that's something that attachment theorists or people who utilize an attachment theory would kind of work with Miles to help point out to him. So there are several other ways that these issues show up. A lot of them are fear of abandonment or intimacy. So this is intense anxiety about being left while simultaneously struggling to trust closeness, which I just think is like this entire, if you just read this book and you're like, that's Miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were like, what's a counseling theory we haven't used? And then we read this book and we were like, no, we're going to use one we've used. Relationship instability, alternating between clinginess and pushing partners away. They struggle with emotional regulation, mood swings, overwhelm easily, emotionally shut down or disassociate. They have low self-esteem, which is a deep belief in being unlovable or too much, which is really sad. And I do think you really see that with Miles. And of course that like, I don't ever want to see that with people. I always want them to be their best selves and really believe in him, because he does have some really good qualities and he is a very caring person. But I want him to care because he genuinely cares about this person, not because he's afraid of losing someone and being completely alone. And I think that then puts too much pressure on the party that he's trying to like be and do nice things for. And like, I just think people can like sense that. And then hypervigilant. So he's constantly scanning for signs of rejection or betrayal, or like a withdrawal within a relationship. So many people describe feeling like they never truly feel at home in relationships, even when nothing is outwardly wrong, which I think was exactly what happened. In the book with Miles when he went to go basically get Daphne's dad. And then I think like a really good quote from the book, and I believe this was on like page 299. But if I don't know what that is.
I was
on
about
the
to say that was
Kindle.
really impressive.
I know. Well, look, funny story. He says, but after a while, someone either finally sees you or they don't. And either way, it fucking sucks because if they see you and it's not what they signed up for, then you're out of there. And if they never see you, it's worse because you're alone. Like, bro, I'm out here like crying. I'm like, that is really sad.
It was
Like,
really, yeah.
I was just devastated to see that. And also like, good job, Emily Henry, for like
Yeah.
having such an emotionally vulnerable moment and like a very believable moment where he felt like he could say that. But yes, I believe Miles' character arc is a classic example of attachment wounds on display.
I agree.
So I feel like I did kind of like my case conceptualization while I was doing the explanation of attachment wounds and attachment theory. So I'm really curious to see to listen to what your case conceptualization is.
It's a hard word.
It is a hard word.
It's a hard word. I still can't spell it very well.
You know, I can't spell period. Yeah.
Speaking of that, quick. I had a workshop for one of my organizations and I sent over the PowerPoint, and then before I went in, she was like, hey, like, not a big deal, but I like hope it was okay that I changed a couple things on your PowerPoint. I was like, yeah, that's okay. Like, what'd you change? She was like, you just had a lot of spelling error. I said, I did this really late at night.
If it makes you feel better.
Like, that's fair.
I would be so embarrassed, but I'd also be like, it is what it is.
No, literally. You know what? I told Oscar about it and he was like, I spelled professional wrong on some of my PowerPoints. And I was like, you know what? That makes me feel a lot better.
I spelled development wrong on every single slide. And it's still the PowerPoint and recording that they use for the BUSI course.
You know, it is what it is.
So every single business student is listening to me and seeing that I spelled development wrong.
It happens. Okay, anyways, back to my case conceptualization. So I kind of talk on both the attachment theory as well as I had told Nora, like pulling in a person-centered perspective into it as well. So like Miles appears very outwardly as easygoing, warm, emotionally attuned. He really prioritizes others' needs, really tries to avoid conflict, and suppresses anger, which I think could suggest that core fear of abandonment and that belief that he must be really kind of low maintenance in order to maintain those connections. And I think that stems from his relationship with his mom and just feeling like he had to be okay all the time to make sure that he didn't trigger her.
Yeah.
And then their dad, just that abandonment of like him not being around and like him not doing what most people believe their parents should be doing, is like protecting them in a way. And so his ex-girlfriend leaving him for her best friend that she realized she had feelings for, I think showed a really significant relational betrayal that likely activated or could activate, if he was in counseling with us, that attachment wounds centered on feeling replaced or not feeling enough, contributing to his minimizing the impact on himself. So I feel like it really showcased that kind of at the beginning of the book, where he didn't seem as affected, or on the surface didn't seem as affected by it.
But then you realize he's like listening to
and
All by Myself on repeat.
My favorite thing is when like the car turned on.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, you know, like if the one song from A Star Is Born plays, he was like, that's the ghost. And I was just like,
no,
that's so, yeah. But I think in a sense, and it doesn't help, like he's been told a lot of ways. Like Peter also explains how, you know, he told Petra that he didn't think Miles was good enough for her, and then he told Daphne the same thing, like Miles isn't good enough for you.
Am I Peter? Because Peter is the villain.
No comment. And so I think he very much just minimizes the impact in which a lot of this stuff has, because he's, again, comes off as this easygoing person who's trying to avoid conflict. So I think from an attachment lens, Miles really demonstrates that anxious, preoccupied tendencies, really masking it by a really highly accommodating exterior. And so like really kind of focusing on how is he showing his emotions to other people. And then I think from more of like a person-centered perspective, he really appears to operate under conditions of worth, equating to lovability, which also kind of equals out to like agreeability. So like his being more agreeable and like that low maintenance effort means that he'll be loved by other people and that he'll be liked by other people. And so I think in counseling, I would focus on really increasing that awareness of attachment activation, supporting him and identifying and expressing his unmet needs, and providing consistent, unconditional, positive regard, which is a huge, huge thing in person-centered therapy that just gives an environment where you're constantly validating and empathizing with your client and just really helping him internalize his emotions and needs, to not be threatened through connection. And so like when he does need something or when he is experiencing these emotions, like he's able to express them without feeling the need or feeling like he's jeopardizing his relationships.
And that's so rare, like to have in your life, in friendships and family. Like that unconditional positive regard is what makes person-centered therapy work, because you're in that where Miles can be like, I don't feel like I'm worthy of love. And the therapist is like, that is intense and hard. And I am still present with you. Like you're not, you can say whatever you want and I'm still here.
It's like a judgment-free zone. You talk about what you need to talk about and we're here to listen and empathize and hold space for you. Yeah. Which, so I liked that kind of the attachment style, but then incorporating that person-centered aspect into it too. I think especially with a client like Miles.
Yeah. And I think I incorporated that in my goals. So my first goal was really to establish a strong therapeutic alliance that allows the client to teach the brain that connection is safe and conflict can be repaired. So that's really, that therapeutic alliance stems from that unconditional positive regard if you're utilizing the two of these together, because that's where you're building that trust with the client, where the client can say, oh, my therapist has challenged me on maybe a certain belief that I hold or a certain thing that I'm doing, and they're not going to leave me because of that. Like it will allow for a discourse. Or I've challenged my therapist on something that they're doing, or I have expressed some type of emotion to my therapist that typically would be like taken negatively, or I've been afraid to express, and my therapist is still here and they're still working with me and they're still demonstrating that caring relationship. And I think as you continue to have that caring relationship, Miles can start to recognize like, oh, there are people who will still be here. And I think he also gets that from Daphne, because what I like about Daphne, and I think too, like a therapist would probably be like, either one, want to do a couple session with them, or two, help Miles understand that the boundaries that Daphne has set are not because she's mad at him. And I think he, like in the book, I feel like he understands this, but because she's trying to grow as a person too. And she can recognize that there still needs to be a me and we, and Miles he isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And I think that my first goal is all about getting Miles to that point where he is like,
I really like that.
I matter. Like I can have wants and needs, and that's okay.
Yeah. I agree. I like that one.
Thank you. Thank you. My second goal is to work with the client to identify emotional triggers that lead to behavioral patterns, and then develop interventions with the client to utilize when exposed to the emotional triggers. So I really did this because I think Miles has a lot of triggers in his life, or was at least in a situation that made him really vulnerable. And he has certain patterns along with that. So like when he's feeling overwhelmed, he needs to leave, he needs to go. When he feels like he's upset someone, he needs to do a grand gesture. And so like identifying like, okay, the trigger is you feel like you've upset someone, or like someone raised their voice at you. That could be a trigger, which ultimately leads to all of these emotions, which leads to this behavior. what are we going to do at that starting point to avoid the behavioral chain? And it could be something that we talked about previously, is that utilization of grounding techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So an attachment theorist is all about healing that inner child who's upset and who's wounded. And so I think Miles is someone who would respond well to physical touch. And that does not mean me, the therapist, is going to touch him, but it means like that gentle touch. So like the hands over the hearts is something that can be very calming. And then I would pair it with a grounding technique or breath work, even as something as simple as like in through the nose for 4, hold for 4, blow out for 4, and repeat until you feel this ability to have a little bit more calm in the situation. So it's not just blinders on, I got to get out. It's like, okay, I am safe. My body is safe. I can move forward with this. I also think Miles would enjoy play. That's a really great attachment intervention because we need to play. We need to be out there. We need to try things. And part of healing that inner child is reconnecting with them. So I think Miles should try bringing back some activities that he used to do in his childhood, whether it would be going for a bike ride, going for just being outdoors, going on a little hike, all the way to like running a kite, like flying a kite, right? Or like just going for a run or coloring. And so I think these are all also really good techniques that can help just kind of like calm you in that overwhelming situation. And so that's what I would work with.
Love.
With Miles. And those are some techniques that you can take home as well.
Love that. Kind of going into my goal, my first one would be to work with the client to really increase insight into attachment patterns. And so identifying recurring themes of abandonment, minimization, and over accommodation, where you can also increase awareness of like emotional and physiological responses when attachment fears are kind of triggered and activated. And then through that, it could be kind of through, main thing is psychoeducation on adult attachment styles and those attachment activation like triggers and emotions. And so like really informing him on like, what are these attachment styles? How can they be triggered? And like going through the emotions with it, processing the betrayal experience to then identify the underlying attachment wounds. I think really getting an understanding and then going into the wounds aspect of it.
I like that you brought in the physiological response because, and this is something that I'm always working on, is like, you can't overthink, like you can't outthink your emotional response. And I feel like Miles would. And so really just that, like, okay, you feel the anxiety in your stomach, like just a real pit there. You have to feel it. And then allow that feeling to happen, and then we can move forward. So I really appreciated that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyways.
We're so bad at compliments. We're like always giving each other compliments like in these episodes, and we're like, that's
how do I
so
take
nice.
it?
I don't know what to do. I receive your compliment.
Thank you. My second goal would be to increase emotional expression and authenticity within relationships. So really identifying his unmet needs and his fears related to expressing those emotions. So I think kind of going back into what I talked about in my case conceptualization of just like that minimization of his emotions and really just kind of those feelings of like needing to feel low, like he needs to be low maintenance in order to keep his relationships around and not express his emotions, and then increased tolerance of conflict and relational discomfort. So I think that's really important for him. He doesn't like confrontation. He doesn't like conflict. When he feels uncomfortable, he's like, gotta go.
Catch me in Greece. I'm driving upstate.
Yeah, going 2 hours away real quick. And so
sorry, I can't pick you up.
And so really kind of increasing that ability to just sit in the discomfort and like let it be. And so I think that could be really, really helpful in like role playing. Role playing is a really big aspect in a lot of theories. And so I think role playing, letting him practice like how that would play out would be really helpful. really exploring his cognitive distortions related to being too much or not enough. And then really reinforcing emotional expression through consistent empathy and validation, which is unconditional positive regard.
Love an unconditional positive regard. Love a role play.
Thank you.
Slay. I know. No one actually likes the role play.
No.
Like the clients when you're like, I
like,
think we
"Ugh."
should role play this. And they're like, I think we should not. I'm
Yeah.
like, you'll thank me. You'll thank me.
You'll thank me when we practice.
Someday.
And
Maybe.
you'll feel better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I think that really brings us to the ultimate question of this podcast. Is he hot or is he
it trauma? Yeah.
I think he's
He's
trauma.
trauma.
Yeah, okay, okay. I was like, I really, he's trauma. Like,
It's the Crocs.
I think the Crocs are your trauma.
Like, also, like, why do they gotta be yellow in the cover? Like,
I didn't even notice
it's
the
really
Crocs in the
I
cover.
get he doesn't have style.
Okay, but she also doesn't have style.
She doesn't.
And I feel like
Oh,
both
yeah,
of
because
these.
she's like very much librarian. Which I got told one time that my style was librarian, and I had never been so hurt in my life.
I used to work in a library. I have great style. I feel like they're more stylish on the cover than they are in the book.
Agreed. Anyway, sorry.
I'm
think
excited.
it's trauma.
I think it's trauma too, but I'm really excited Phoebe Denver is cast as no.
She's doing Beach Read.
She's doing Beach Read.
She's doing Beach Read. I think that's still a good cast for her.
Okay, can we take that out though and redo this? I don't need book talk coming for me.
They said you're not up to date on shit.
Yeah, no. We're just not going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I actually
okay.
do though too, because then with the
Well, this is gonna be a TV series.
yes,
I'm
actually,
excited
yeah.
about that.
Who was it? Who's the guy? He was in the Maze Runner. He is
There's a lot of people
Dylan
in this.
O'Brien.
He's gonna be in it,
No, but that's like the dream.
dude.
This is for Beach Read. That's like
I've been
the dream
in love
cast.
with that man since
You've been
Teen
in love
Wolf.
with every man. So personally, I think Miles is trauma. I think he still has so much to work on as a person and isn't really ready for a serious relationship, even though are you still offended?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm a man hater, okay, and he needs to be shown that I am.
It's shown. Someone here has an anxious avoidant attachment style, and it's not me.
Is it Drake?
It is not Drake who. Oh my God. Is the attachment style in the room with us?
It's not.
It's Alyssa. So we agree that he's trauma. I do think he probably is hot in a weird scruffy.
I was gonna say I think I would find him attractive if I saw him,
and
at like if he was my bartender, I'd be like I would.
How many drinks have you had at his bar? Like, is this like no drinks? I would, or is this like, well, look, I've had
I
a
think
few.
after 2 glasses of wine.
Girl, after 2 glasses of wine, I'm asleep. Drake never has to
That's on
worry
being
about
old.
me. Oh my God. So I would give this 3.5 red flags because I do think Miles is a red flag, but I did enjoy it. While this isn't my favorite Emily Henry book, this is the book that has been the most recommended to me. And I do find that it has a lot of depth and it does ask us to think about things a lot more.
Yep.
And like, they're just kind of like, it's kind of like a crazy situation. Also, I gave it the 0.5 because I love that Peter came crawling back and she said, no. Fuck
I
you,
ate
Peter.
that shit up.
I said, of course, Petra doesn't want to be with you, you straight-laced accountant-esque person. Ugh, men never know what they have until it's gone. Anyway, what was your flag rating?
I gave it 2.5 red flags.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
It just wasn't it for you.
No, it really wasn't. I really loved the depth of the book. I
Mhm.
think it was, I really liked the background story of how they came together. I thought that funny story,
Mhm.
play on words anyways. super cute. I think there's a lot of depth, and I think there's a lot of things to be worked on. It didn't do it for me. It just didn't do it for me. But I enjoyed them as characters. I liked the book still.
There weren't enough horses and ranches for her. It wasn't in Texas.
That's what the TikTok I was gonna mention was about. It was like, never would I ever see myself falling in love with an accountant, and then it plays like cowboy. Anyways, I've got to find those TikToks.
I've
Do you
seen
know
that
what I'm
TikTok.
talking
Yeah,
about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Drake's shaking his head at me.
And I've seen that, and I like an accountant. Like a man who knows math. A man who knows math. That's hot.
Cowboys can know math.
A man who can do my taxes.
My daddy does my taxes. That's okay.
Is your daddy a cowboy?
No, he's a blue collar man.
Stay reading.